So I've been running this Sican two-stroke outboard motor for 3 months now, and I haven't managed to do any sort of maintenance to it. I've just been running it. Last time when I took it apart, I found out that the clutch was burnt out, which is what was causing it to lose a little bit of speed. And figured while I'm replacing that, might as well do a couple more maintenance items, make sure this thing's running in tip-top shape. So I got some Amsoil synthetic marine gear lube, 7590, to replace whatever fluid is in there. Really, you could use some SAE 90 or other gear fluid from your local auto parts store, but I wanted to make sure I'm using something good. And since the clutch is burnt out, I got this Fly Pig heavy duty clutch kit I got from Amazon. We'll see how well it works. Either way, really needed a new clutch in there anyway. And I've been reading that these things come with some really crappy spark plugs, some Chinese plugs that are pretty worthless. So I'm gonna replace that with an NGK spark plug, you know, something better quality. And also gonna start running Amsoil synthetic outboard two-stroke oil from now on, instead of the Walmart crap I used on this last time. I mean, it worked, but I just want to make sure I'm treating this a little bit better. And we're gonna use this with 93 octane just to see if it makes any sort of difference. And let's get started. It's a 5mm. All right, so the clutch bolts are 17mm, but obviously you can't just turn it. It'll just keep spinning the crank. So you gotta have to get creative if you don't have power tools. Luckily, I have an impact driver. Very dusty in there. So as it turns out, the Fly Pig heavy duty clutch kit looks almost identical to the one that's on there. Maybe the spring looks a little different, but it looks almost identical. But obviously it has a lot more pad material since it's a brand new clutch. So hopefully it doesn't wear out as quick as this one, but that's a good sign. I know for a fact that it'll work and fit. Before you install it, definitely clean out any sort of clutch dust you can find on these clutch surfaces. All right, let's put the new one on. After you finish tightening all the Allen bolts, just have a gentle one pull just to make sure that the crank still rotates with no hesitation or abnormal hesitation, just to make sure that the clutch is seated correctly. If you want to use the same exact clutch as I did, the part number for this one is X00205T107. I'll have a link for it in the description. We'll confirm how well it works later on. All right, so now let's change out the spark plug. This one, you just have to take the spark plug wire off. The spark plug, top, and you gotta use a 3/4 inch socket to break it loose. Looks like just a generic L7T spark plug. The brand is LD. Not really familiar with it, but we're going to be replacing it with a NGK spark plug, Japan plug, part number BPM7RA. So it's the same heat range, trying to keep majority of the specs the same. So you'll see it's exact same dimensions. I'm not going to touch the plug gap since it supposedly came pre-gapped. You can definitely tell big difference in quality. Nothing too abnormal with the original plug, but not with that one. Screw it in by hand. Careful not to over tighten this since the cylinder head is aluminum. Just about, yeah. Then spark plug wire back on, and that was it. All right, now we're gonna drain the fluid from the bottom housing. Just using a shot glass, Therium shot glass, to collect the oil in there, since it doesn't seem like there's much, very, very little.
Well, it's good that we're doing this because there's
very little of anything in there. Wow. Well, good thing we got this. What we usually use in the automotive industry, and just fill the differential to the fill plug. And then I'm gonna use some gear oil specific gasket maker on the threads here when I do tighten it onto the housing, just to make sure that nothing leaks in or out. All right, so it doesn't take forever trying to fill this hole with this bigger tip. I modified a cover from a silicone tube in my garage. Make it a little easier. Now that you can see the fluid is filled to the fill tube, we are going to seal it off. And we're going to do that by adding a little bit of gear oil safe gasket maker. And I'm going to put it all along this washer, and we're going to install it.
I'm gonna spread that around the fuel plug washer.
Screw it on by hand. And torque it. Wipe off any excess gasket maker. Let it sit while we go get gas. Another good maintenance item to check over is the air filter for the carburetor. Actually, I have not cracked this open at all. Just to make sure it's clean and doesn't have debris on the foam filter. It has an airtight seal. So this is the choke and this is the inlet for the carburetor. Just good to check over for any sort of debris. You could replace this with a higher flowing filter, but I really don't think it would make much of a difference on a motor this small. Thought about it. I even thought about modifying the air box, but these vents are pretty free flowing, so I don't really see a reason why it would be much more effective if I drill more holes here. But yeah, I mean, it's clean, so let's put it back together. Just got some 93 octane from Shell. One thing I really like about these Amsoil two-stroke oil bottles is the measuring guides on both sides. This side has a liters guide, so basically if you're targeting 50-to-1 fuel to oil mixture and you're using, let's say, gallons, if you put like 2 gallons of fuel in your tank, you're gonna pour this much oil in there to get a 50-to-1 fuel to oil ratio. But since the Sican two-stroke calls for a 30-to-1 ratio, I'm gonna end up pouring this whole thing in there for 2 gallons. Let's give it a shot. Seems good. So the maintenance items have been taken care of now, and it sounds like it's running healthy. Clutch is functioning as it should. Propeller not turning when it's just idling, and it grabs pretty hard as soon as you throttle it. So next step before we take it back out on the water is to get the Intex little inflatable boat back together, and I'll show you the platform and custom transom that I've been working on. So that it's more stable when I take it out again with the Sican. So if you are interested in seeing that, stay tuned, subscribe to my channel. If you found any of this information today useful or helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button. But for today, this is gonna be it. See you in the next video.